Yo, what's up? No niche. What's going on? Y'all, what's going on? So listen, as usual, I need to check my I know y'all gonna be like, yo, y'all probably be talking about me, you know what I'm saying, in the chat to my yo, he's always checking his audio. Yeah, so my audio is good as y'all can hear. What's going on, y'all? So look, I came up here just for a few minutes, you know what I'm saying, because I wanted to just talk about every time that I get off of our community. Shout out to my homie, Mr. Ashton, CEO, all the way from Texas, in his community and stuff like that. And, like I told y'all last video, you need to find you a coach, it's going to help you to develop what it is that you're looking for. Sometimes when you look at what I'm saying, the stuff that people are teaching, you'll say, wow, I already knew this. I didn't know. I didn't know that I have to articulate it this way. I didn't know that this was, what this was all about. But anyway, now I want to tell you, I remember the time when I first started my first podcast, which was It's Life Podcast, ITZLIFE podcast, right? And you know, I got excited because I've been following, like I oftentimes say, Sean Cannell is always going to be mentioned in any of my videos because he's been one of my biggest influences outside of what is it I'm doing right now. And the reason I'm saying this is because here's the deal. He when they talked about video, when they talked about camera, I bought me one. I bought me a lavalier mic. I bought me, whatever it was, the background. I bought me the key lights. I bought everything that I needed. Then he started talking about podcasts with Mrs. Heather Torres. I don't know if she's still with them, but we don't see her here lately. But they, talked about the Rodecaster Pro, and then we talked about the pod mics to go with it. Then we talked about the Short SMB, SM7B. Sorry about that, which is the biggest broadcast mic. They use it on the Breakfast Club, use it on every type of radio station, whatever the case may be, which was great. But I remember the time that I purchased all of what they've always offered. I went to B&H, racked up, racked up, racked up, rack on rack, racked it up. You feel me? But here's the deal. I had begun to, start doing videos and start talking to people. I started talking about it. I had everything that I needed, but I didn't have really a game plan. I didn't have a particular type of plan as to what I actually wanted to talk about. And if I did, I didn't know how to package it to create influence. So right away, I was happy. I said, okay, after like my third or fourth or maybe fifth episode, I bought me a t-shirt, bought me some hats. I was like, I'm going to sell my t-shirts, I'm going to sell my hats. But I thought about something. And this for anybody who's doing movie making, anything that you want to do, if you do not create the influence as to why people would want to buy your hat or buy your t-shirt, becomes irrelevant for you to even buy and purchase a wholesale bundle of t-shirts and hats. Now it's a right to rack up, in advance, right? But then even if you take orders, it doesn't mean that you're going to have every, size. If you bought a whole bunch of smalls or a whole bunch of mediums, a whole bunch of large, you might have more smalls and mediums, but then everybody's purchasing large, depending upon the season of the fashion design or fashion industry, whichever way. However, you have to learn how to create influence. And this is no niche. You feel what I'm saying? By the way, Pepsi is not sponsoring me. And everybody's looking for authentic content, but there you go, content, but there it is. You gotta have influence. Why do I want to buy your t-shirt? Like I said, I oftentimes tell you, you should know where I'm from by now. The Reddick Projects. I don't live there now currently, but I'm from, Reddick Projects, Brooklyn, New York. And we used to sell out, buy t-shirts and stuff like that, buy hats with our logo and our symbol or whatever, and our name on it. I mean, we used to go in and we're like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Get my brand out there. And it was only to the neighborhood. It wasn't across other, states or other countries and stuff like that. But we obviously every seed have to start somewhere. We get that, But the real question was why? Because there were some people who didn't even look at the podcast. There were people who could care less about the podcast, So I tried to build some influence to talk about the neighborhood and stuff like that and interview some people at the neighborhood so that the neighborhood will watch. Great. But it doesn't mean that they're going to stick with you. You know what I'm saying? So it's not easy to keep and gain retention. But you have to come up with some type of plan as to why people would want to listen to you. And that leads me to my second point. If you want to be able to, create influence, the first thing you have to understand is, what do I have to offer? What do people need? What am I offering? Because if you then study what people need, whatever your ideal person is, and see, a lot of times people think you have to talk to the whole world. Can I tell you something? If you try and reach everybody, you're gonna wind up reaching nobody. But you have to understand who is your ideal person. I know that you probably come up here and you say, you know what, everybody's talking about my ideal person, my ideal person. Sometimes people start with themselves. The ideal person I talk to is the person I used to be. Boom, there you go. Because I know what I needed. I know who my prior self was. I know the kind of love that person, that young man needed. I know that the kind of encouragement that person needed. I also understood, what the flaws of that young man was, and the weaknesses of that young man. So you take a look at all that, what he used to like to watch, what movie shows he watched, or TV shows and movies he'd like to go to, what was his favorite color, all of that type of stuff. The reason why you have gurus who get up here and say, oh, you need to find out who your ideal person that you want to sell to or offer to is. And then they tell you, oh, you need to find out what time they sleep, what time they get up, what they're doing, what they're talking about themselves. Don't get it twisted. And let me tell you straight up and down, all of them are mostly talking about themselves. You ain't gonna go to somebody's apartment and be like, hey, how you doing? What did you eat this morning? What kind of deodorant did you use? What are you doing? What did you walk up? Did you walk around this morning? What do you do? Again, what do you do before you go? You're not gonna sit there. That's kind of weird. I wish somebody would ask me something like that. Like, you're a weirdo. However, my point is that in order for you to gain, influence, you have to know exactly who you're talking to. And 9 times out of 10, if you learn how to speak to who you used to be, and give the need to who you used to be, give the value to who you used to be, I guarantee you somebody is that brother. Somebody is that lady, according to all of you ladies, or that little girl. Somebody is the person you need to speak to. Somebody, you are the person you need to get to. And the reason why I'm saying all of this, and I reposition myself because I just wanted you to understand, if you write down, your avatar, how much money that person made, how much money that person would love to make, what do you have to offer them? And see, here's the deal. If you take a look at solving the problem, you can't solve a problem if you don't know a person's pain. What is their pain point? What do they need instant relief in? What is it that they're asking for? What is it that they'll pay you for? You see what I'm saying? Let me tell you something. Just 2-3 days ago, I had this terrible, terrible toothache. And I could just about do anything just to get that pain out of my tooth, just to get that pain off of me. I mean, I couldn't sleep. I thought my ear was going to fall off. I thought half my face was going to slouch. I don't know what, I was like, oh my God, I got to get this pain out of here, But if I had somebody who could say, yo, Donald, I have this for you, blah, 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 I would have pretty much paid them almost anything just to get to it, because you want to know what kind of pain that a person have. Does it require intensive care? Is it a kind of pain that they could wait 2 weeks to get, again, you want to know exactly what that pain is, when you discover the pain, then you can discover the resolve, then you can offer and teach that particular value. Then, and only then after you've, gotten this thing out where people are the same kind of person who need the same kind of situation, if you decided to make t-shirts and a hat, they could understand that, oh yes, I know why I want to buy this hat. I know why I want to buy this t-shirt. If Kevin Hart was someone who sold t-shirts or they sold it from his organization, guess what? Because he's a comedian and he made us laugh and laugh out my pain, of course you would buy it. Of course you would buy it. If you're going to rep where you're from, I'm from New York, Brooklyn. You see what I'm saying? And of course I'm going to rep. You feel what I'm saying? If I wanted people to know, especially if it's something that's great, I wear Nike sneakers. You get what I'm saying? I'm not promoting Nike, but Nike, what's up? What's up? You know what I'm saying? I wear Nikes, got Nikes on my feet. I now know why I wear the Nike sweater, because I got Nike sneakers on. You feel what I'm saying? And you want to be able to keep the brand, but in the process, guess what happened with Nike? Not only have they been influential because they make our feet look better and feel good, but every time that we wear it, it's a part of their promotional companies. It's a part of people promoting them. I can't say their brand because the brand is how I feel when I wear it. The brand is how I feel when I put the sneakers on. If they made me uncomfortable, bad brand. If it was too big for me, bad brand. You get what I'm saying? If they didn't have the size that I would, bad branding, you know? But it's how they make you feel and then look, because when you feel good, you look good. So what can you do to allow for your t-shirt and your hat to be so influential that people is propelled to buy your work? Yo, this your boy Donald Francis. Just a few moments, you know what I'm saying, to let you know, listen, you know, you have to influence, you have to be the influence. You know, that's the one strategy, that's the one step that's causing you not to buy. And don't get it twisted. Before I end this, let me just say, if you got the drip, you know, and if it looked nice, don't get it twisted. I do understand before you to roast me in the comments. No, there'll be people who will buy it because it looked that dope, that good, that fire, whatever you want to use. You know what I'm saying? Because it looked that good. Because I do believe that there are people who they'll wear non-label stuff. You know, if it looked just as good, then they will wear label stuff, you know? And if it's something that will make them different and stand out, people will buy that. You know, I wish I had my boy Drew Joyner, you know, saying I can talk to him a second time, which I will, you know, but it's going to be on MTP. But again, you know, people know, and just like we talk about, they have so many different trends. It's not about that, but I'm telling you, you know, you'll understand why people buy what they buy because of the influence. I don't promote them, but I can't wait. What? No, I'm sorry, but I do. You know, I do promote Road products. You know, they promote me to some degree, you know, and here's the deal. I love Road products because of how the sound, you know, how it sounds. And I'm gonna listen. And here's the deal. I mean, and it sounds so good, you know, because of their sound, you know, because of the quality that they produce. We have Sennheiser. We also have Shure, you know, we have so many different. I like Rode, you know. So at the end of the day, because of its brand, which is how the service it brings, that's your real brand. It has influence that if I were to wear anything in concerning Rode, I don't mind letting people know I support Rode, Rode. You know, not ROA. Not can I spell ROAD? But I mean RAIOD. Sorry, I'm so tired. Y'all don't know what to do because again, I'm always up here late night. But again, y'all, you know, that's what it's all about. What can you do to make your product influential enough that will propel people to want to buy it? And that is, you have to simply be the influence, and you have to learn the kind of service you give. You have to know where people's pain point is to be able to solve the problem so that they'll understand why they're after your product and after anything that you do. All right. So look, it's your boy Donald Francis, y'all. And till next time, peace.